Hello, party people. Welcome to another episode of the Tried and Tested podcast. I am your host, Tracy. And if you're not familiar with this podcast, it's a dating and relationship type show where we talk about all the ins and outs of being single, being in a relationship, getting married, and just everything really like first dates, last dates, no dates, all of that. We got you. So today we have a special guest. We have my girl Tia here. Say hey, girl.
Hi, y'all.
So thank you for joining us today. And
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, sis.
yes, and we're gonna take it a little different route today. So we're gonna talk about kingdom dating. Okay.
Juicy.
And when we say kingdom dating, I'm referring to Christianity and the kingdom of God and dating the kingdom way and the Christian way. Okay.
Okay.
So before we get there, and actually we're gonna do kingdom dating and kingdom marriage. I'm not
Okay.
married, but I know you've been married before, so you can kind of touch on that a little bit if you like.
Okay.
Um, so what is your definition of dating, period? Not the
Um,
kingdom dating, just dating.
my definition of dating is pretty much getting to know someone, their personality, their traits, their likes, dislikes, family, background if you must. Just trying to fill them out, get to know them as a whole.
Okay.
So whether that
And
be through phone calls or hanging out or going out on dates, but it's just basically you're just trying to gather information about them.
okay. And trying to see if you guys are going to, I guess, make it. Wait, so do you consider dating being like officially dating, like as far as like boyfriend and girlfriend, or just kind of the stage before that where you're getting to know if you're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend?
I definitely feel like it's for me anyway, it's more of the stage of being friends and going out here and there just to get to know each other, but definitely on the friendship level first, because I can't date you if we can't be friends. I think for me, I just feel like it's kind of weird to just jump into a whole dating pool and just say you're my boyfriend, and I don't even know what your favorite color is. I don't know what I just don't know anything about you, so I just feel like the friendship aspect should come first.
Okay, so dating is like pretty much getting to know your friend in a way that is not just only friendly, but a little step above where there's an intention behind it of getting to know the person to see if you like.
Exactly.
All right, so what is your definition of kingdom dating?
Kingdom dating. Kingdom dating, I would say that's the intention of dating to be married. So I feel
Okay.
like, a lot of people they just want to date just to shop around to say, but or whatever the case may be, but it's just with the intention to know that if this is a step that we're taking, just know that this is like an end goal that I'm looking forward. So if that's not where you're going, this is
Mm-hmm.
not the avenue that I want to be in.
So it's essentially like, so kingdom dating is going to be more like courting. Like, you know that, listen, I have gotten to kind of see you and to some degree. Well, this is actually, so let me give you my definition of kingdom dating. Because, like I said, I think we're
Okay.
all still learning, but I believe that kingdom dating is essentially you're putting God first, right? In this relationship, it's like he is, the Alpha, the Omega. And so you both
Absolutely.
are running after God. And then
Absolutely.
you've now taken the time to maybe like, you saw someone, this is for males and females alike, you've seen someone that you're interested in and you kind of just start to study them, watch them, see how they moving. And then maybe you start to kind
Absolutely.
of converse with them and build a friendship, but
Absolutely.
not the best friendship that somebody would be trying to do. So not like I see you, I like you, now I'm gonna be calling you every day, or I'm gonna be calling you on a particular schedule. So if I call you every 2 days at 3 p.m., like nothing like that. Like there can't be any schedule to it because you're just trying to get to know them and be friendly. And it's kind of like
Right.
more like spontaneous but intentional. So
Right.
and then I also feel like you should be praying about it, right? You should have been praying about the person that Lord has for you before you even met them. But as you've met them, I think now you should be praying for the Lord to kind of not allow your emotions to run wild or any lust to flare up or any attraction to
Right.
take over, but for you to actually be able to see the person for who they are, before you actually approach, and then start to build,
Absolutely.
and then start to build an intentional friendship. So that's the way I see it for kingdom dating. I think that a lot of it happens before you actually begin to date. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
Mercy on me, because that is actually one of the first, very, very first steps that you should be taking, especially when it comes to kingdom dating, is to make sure you pray on it. God,
mhm.
I agree that God should definitely be the main factor in any relationship, especially dating. You should have the green light. And because God is very intentional, asking him to show a person's true intentions, he will answer that. Because obviously he doesn't want nobody to take you the opposite direction. He wants you to have a
Mhm.
partner where you're both going to do his work. So definitely praying on it and asking the Lord to reveal their intentions. He will answer.
And this is it. This is it. And I know that in past episodes I've actually talked about like where I see like females pursuing men aggressively, right? And that had
Yes.
got me thinking. And that had got me thinking, I'm like, well, did you hear from God? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Because it's kind of like, what would make you have to now put on the trousers and be the male
Oh,
in the
Jesus.
situation if you heard, and this is just for my Christians, you know what I'm saying? If you're not Christian and this does not apply to you, but you
Right.
could definitely learn from these principles, in order to save yourself some
Absolutely.
heartache and heartbreak and stuff. But yeah, I was wondering, I'm like, man, like if you had to do all of this cutting people up and like trying to like double cross people and just, do all of that. It's like, are you sure this is the person that you heard from God about? Because if you had just did step one, you would have just saved yourself the time and the trouble. So,
Absolutely. I agree.
so why do you think it's not common knowledge for Christians about how to date? And let me know if you want me to
Um,
elaborate.
yes, please, before I
Okay.
take it somewhere that he's supposed to go.
Okay, so obviously, like, I meet people all the time and they're like, yeah, I've been in church my whole life, this, that, and the third. But then I'm like, knowing God, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily teach you how to date differently, like as far as skills are. You know what I'm saying? Like how you've been dating, you've been doing it your whole life. Right. But it's
Right.
like I feel like people may know the word of God, they may go to church, et cetera, but then you're still dating like the world. And so, why do
Mm.
you think that it's not common knowledge for how Christians should date?
Um, because it's not, I feel like it's not talked about enough.
Hmm.
I feel like when you come into um the saving Christ of Jesus and you become saved, you're still carrying the old ways of dating. So, it's not really spoken about often. So you're gonna go back to where your comfortability level. This is what I was doing before, so I'm just gonna assume that this is how I'm supposed to do it now. And so because the knowledge isn't really passed around the way it should be, like it is with everything else, I think people kind of get confused on what that should look like.
Okay, and I definitely agree with that. And I think that it's just so much confusion because like I have friends in the world and I have friends in Christ. And so I feel like funny enough, at least for my pool of friends, wait, do I want to say that? I'm trying to make sure I'm getting it right. Okay, no, I'm not. Let me not let me not even use that statistic. But yeah, so I feel like I'm like, well, why is there so much confusion about what's going on? And women are still like getting hurt and feeling some type of way. So I'm like, I don't really understand like what's going on. So I had a question yesterday from my brother, and I thought it was really, really good because he was asking me, he said, so is it okay to go to dinner with someone you don't know that you may be interested in? Like, is it harmful for you to, say like, hey, I like this person and, she looks a certain way. And I want to take her out to eat. And then of course, when we get on a date, if there's no chemistry there, then that's it. And I asked
Right.
myself, well, how many people are you going to do that with, right?
Mm,
Like that's where
this
the
is true.
confusion, yeah, like that's where the confusion and stuff comes in because now you've taken 20 girls on a date and it's like, well, did you go to God? No. And that's where I think
Mercy.
that people don't realize, you get what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
I know one thing our pastor always says is that if you've seen more than two people naked in the same church, you're an abuser.
Right.
And I remember one day he broke it down one day, and it wasn't like naked, just like we've had sex, because we shouldn't be doing that no way. But it was
Right.
naked like emotionally. So if you literally
Right.
sat up on a phone with somebody every day for 10 hours a day for 4 months, that's like, you know what I'm saying? And then they know all your life and your business, and then you do it with the next girl. Essentially, that's you're exposing yourself to people, and you're not marrying any of them. You know what I mean?
Right, right. I agree. And that's where the praying part comes in, and that's where you have to really get the green light on those situations. So, as our pastor said, like when you take a woman out on a date, we already planned the wedding. Like it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's taking me on a date. This is it. This is my husband. Like we're already like 10 steps ahead when we really shouldn't be, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're
the all click.
emotional. Right.
Yeah.
We're emotional. So, that's a heavy prayer. Can't really stress that enough. Heavy, heavy prayer. If you have spiritual leaders that you really, trust, and that their best interest is to make sure that you're good, definitely seek them out. Of course, you definitely have to pray about it, but definitely seek them out, because the last thing you want to be is that person that's known for talking to everybody, because then your value drops. You won't even be
Right.
looked at as the same person. So
Yes.
then you
No,
get
that's
to a point where nobody wants you. So
and or
mercy.
nobody has anything good to say about you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's a nice guy, but she's a nice girl, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's definitely like, yeah, like so the dinner part, and the thing is like people genuinely just don't know, right? And
Right.
so this is why it's important to always be at church events if you have a church that talks about it. Because some churches, like I know our leaders have a marriage ministry. And so
Mm-hmm.
therefore that allows us to kind of, get better insight on that.
Right.
Um, so let me see, we talked about the
And if
dinner.
I can add too, like I feel like if you're trying to figure out the person, you're trying to figure them out. For my opinion, I feel like a date is too I mean, a dinner is too intimate. For me personally, if I'm gonna go out on a date to get to know somebody, I'd rather go somewhere fun, like a RPM, or what do you call it, like the racetracks or something like that,
Racetrack.
somewhere where you could do like activities, so it's not as intimidating, because you're out and you're open. The environment is in a different state. You don't have to be so intimate. And I just feel like that's for like date number 4 or something like that. Like the first few dates should be very like fun filled, and
But I think
just
that
trying to
that's
feel.
worse
Hmm.
because I feel like if you like, let's say with RPM and stuff. So I feel like with dinner, for instance, right? Like you're sitting across from the person, so you have to actually address them, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to actually be able
Yes.
to ask the questions and stuff. Whereas RPM, you can have a good time, but you can kind of also get caught up in the chaos and miss the fact
Hmm.
that this is a person, like, I don't like how he does this. I don't like how he
Right.
treats people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, I
Yes.
feel like when you're in a relationship, like RPM or those kind of things may be better. But I mean, I guess it depends on the relationship. But if you are friends first, then I feel like, or if you're trying to get to know each other, like, and so here's my thing, the phone, right? And I think
Hmm.
this is what we've been taught, that even taking somebody's phone number and calling them can cause confusion. And so I truly believe it. Like I said, I didn't always think this at all. Like, when I tell you, if you knew what my worldly dating was and what my thoughts were, I'm telling you, like, this is years of like now understanding after getting played or getting played with or
Hmm.
just wasting time. Like, this is a knowledge that I've come to see is important. But wait, mercy, look at me losing my train of thought.
No, the
Yeah, okay.
phone. You were
Oh,
talking
the phone.
about the phone time.
Yes, I think that, for instance, like if you are studying the person, if you are praying, to God, I think that you should only communicate with them when you see them.
Hmm.
So, like, for us, like, I can only go by our church. We have service at least 3 times a week, right?
Right.
So you have Wednesday Bible study, we got Friday night fire night, and we have Sunday at church. So I think that besides praying about it, I think that in those instances, you can talk to them then and there, but not take it outside of the walls, because that's where it starts to become too much if you didn't hear from God yet, because that would save you
Hmm.
from causing confusion. You know what I mean? because it's
I
kind of like, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No,
No,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. No, I feel like for me, you can, but don't make it so intimate. Like, hey, how's everything going? Just because if you're talking to your friend, we don't just talk to our friends during service. We hit them up here and there, share a video, whatever the case may be. I feel like
Mhm.
we should just be more watchful about the time and the type of conversations that we're having. Because then, if we're spending too much time on the phone, you're unknowingly creating a soul tie as well. So you have to be careful with the amount of time that you're spending. But I feel like just to hit somebody up here and there,
Mhm.
hey, what's going on? How was your day? Stuff like that. I feel like it's harmless.
But you're not
Sharing a video.
friends. Because you get what I'm like. So here's what I'm trying to eliminate. I'm
Okay.
trying to eliminate any confusion that if I thought that you were the person for me and you're not, right? Because remember, you haven't gotten a green light just yet. Because I feel like once you get the green light, you're now able to say like, hey, I really like the way that you are. I prayed about it, and I think that I'm ready to go on a date with you. I want to get to know you better. Like, how do you feel about it? You know what I'm saying? Like something like that. But I feel like if you have not gotten a green light, opening any door up before God has said yes can cause confusion. And then when you try to do it with the next girl, well, he was calling me or he was, DMing me. How am I doing? So I think that, like I said, this is me now, but it's only my
Hmm.
opinion. 'Cause, you know what I'm saying? But it's like I feel like you gotta eliminate anything extra
Okay.
until you're ready. I
Um,
mean, go ahead, girl. Let me know.
No, I listen, I understand what you're saying. I
Hmm.
dig it. I definitely get that. Like I said, I feel like it's also the type of conversation that you may have as well. Because if we're friends, I have got male friends. So
Yeah, me too.
I'm not looking at them any type of way if we're just, hey, regular conversation. That's why I said I think wordplay, the amount of time you're spending on the phone, if I just want to share a video with you and you're my friend, it should be
Hmm.
okay to do that. And it's also a maturity level as well. Because
Exactly.
if I say hey and you took that as we getting married tomorrow, you kind of got some more maturing that you have to do because I could genuinely just be a friend that's checking up or whatever the case may be. It shouldn't really go straight to the altar just from saying hey. So
People do
I'm
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, so even if it's maturity, I think that so I'm gonna have to do an episode on just like the eagerness of wanting to be in a
mm,
relationship as a Christian,
yes,
right? I feel
yes,
like there is so I feel like once somebody gives you a little bit too much attention, then you're now gonna say that, oh, he used to try to talk to me. And so I'm
right.
saying to eliminate anything, like I said, if that's the person the Lord has for you, you want to have a clear mind. You're not trying to, because the conversations don't have to be about anything crazy. But when you start having them and people begin to open up to you, like even as a friend, it can go left. Like I've seen it
This is
happen. It's
true.
happened to me. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm like, with that, oh, but so okay, so I was gonna ask you, what do you suggest people do to get to know someone? But you kind of already, we've I guess both established what we think, you feel like a little bit more conversation outside of seeing them. And I feel like, a little less communication until you're sure. Um, let me see. So what are the benefits do you feel like of dating kingdom like as opposed to regular dating?
Oh, please. Kingdom dating. If you if you're dating someone and you're both on the same page and you both have the same principles, I think dating would go by so much easier because you don't really have to explain too much because you both
Mhm.
already know, especially like if you're dating someone from the same church, you both are learning the same thing. So you don't have to really you don't really have to worry as much. Your
Mm,
guard don't have to be through the roof. But when
mm,
you're dating someone that doesn't really understand the principle of we can't really hang out late or whatever the case may be, it may be a lot harder because they don't really understand. They don't understand where the soul ties. Even if you explain that, it's going to take forever for them to really grasp what that is because they're not. they're not in the world, they don't have that light as yet. So I feel
Yes.
like kingdom dating is more effective when you have someone that's on the same page and they understand your principalities as well.
Mm. No, I definitely understand. Like, and when they like, I think when they do understand the principles that you believe in and they believe the same thing, it makes sense. But one thing I did like about dating before coming to Christ fully was that I felt like you knew where you stood, right? Because when a
Hmm.
person is interested in you, they're gonna be looking at you, they're gonna come up to you, they're gonna approach you, they're gonna be like, hey, can I call you sometime? Can I take you out? So that eliminates a lot of confusion about where you stand. And I feel like half the time that's always the issue is the battle with the what's going on here? Like, is he feeling me? Is he not? So that was one thing about dating before Christ that I'm like, okay, I can dig this. I like this because I feel like nobody wants to be confused. You get what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's
But
just
then
one
you know, that is true, but then you have some people that have ulterior motives
of
outside
course.
of
What you
Christ
mean
and
some?
they and they so them approaching you is it sound good until you really figure out what the motives are. So
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you approach me, but what do you want? You know what I'm saying? So
right,
outside
right.
of Christ, the intentions are totally different. Like some of them don't even mercy. Some of them don't care for marriage. They just want what
Yeah,
they want, pretty much.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
definitely. And I think we're blessed to be in a place where a lot of people, maybe when they came in, they were not looking for marriage. They didn't know what good marriage looked like. They weren't looking for a
yeah,
girlfriend or a
absolutely,
boyfriend. So now it's like,
absolutely.
luckily, like things are changing because I know some people that I had come across, like at my old job, it's because of what they had seen, right? They had seen like bad marriages, people cheating with
Hmm.
everybody, like he cheating, she cheating, they all cheating. We don't know whose kids these are. Like people have been through some things. And so I
Oh,
definitely
Jesus.
see like how, like, so what are your suggestions, I would say, or like your advice to people who are, whether you're new to Christ or whether you've never had a relationship in Christ, what are your suggestions about, maybe being patient and actually getting to see this through, like this whole dating thing, like actually getting to go through the process without the mess?
For starters, you definitely have to learn yourself. You definitely have to be in a position where you love yourself, and you definitely have to be in a position where you're okay by yourself. Like your relationship with God has to be in great standing, because the last thing you want to do is get into a relationship just because you need somebody to validate you. And so you definitely should make sure that you're okay mentally, physically, spiritually, that you're not putting any pressure on your partner when they come in. So you're in any insecurities or whatever, it has to be in place. I feel like maybe you should have a goal because one of the questions that I like to ask someone is, what is your 5-year plan? It may sound cliche, but I feel like that gives you a great perspective on where a person's mind is at. So if you want to do X, Y, and Z, what are you doing right now to get to that point so you could kind of see if they're serious about what they want to do in life. And most importantly, just trust, pray. You have to pray. Regardless of anything, you have to make sure to pray.
Yeah. This is the first time I think that we have to go without our emotions. I think that dating in life has always been about your emotions. When I see them, I feel this way. It got to be different. It got to be special. And I think that now it's like we're using wisdom, we're using our purpose and our future, where we're going to kind of choose the right person as opposed to using our eyes and what we
Hmm.
believe a person is. And so, yeah. I definitely feel like this is a topic that I'm even still learning more about because I just
Absolutely. Same.
like, Lord, I don't know. But you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's a good kind of like starter to just kind of figure out like how should we be moving, like what should we be doing, what's right, what's not right. But definitely, I don't think that people should start off with, oh, you look nice. Can I get your phone number? And then start talking to them, start texting them. Because I think that for some reason, not for some reason, because women want this, men, when they get a female's number, they automatically feel like they're expected to text you every morning, hey, beautiful, how are you doing? Because that's what we did in the
It's
world. You get what
true.
I'm saying? Yeah, but I
Yes.
feel like all of these things that you're doing, it can cause confusion. And
Right.
it's like, that's not what we want, because now, like, let's say you didn't intend to do that. I think that we're at the age where, as males and females, we know how our actions make people feel. So if
Right.
you're a female that likes to flirt, if you're a male that likes to flirt, if you start doing things that you should not be doing, which is giving somebody too much attention and time, and it's, to me, that's not friendship. I think friendship is
No.
built. You know what I'm saying? So if
Yes.
you force it, or if you implement it and it's not natural, you know what your actions are going to now confuse people about, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think that we have to be held accountable. We have to be,
Absolutely.
yeah. Like, that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, that is a big yes for me. So yeah. But I think that is all that I have as far as, the standard or the beginning of Christian dating. I know we mentioned kingdom marriage a little bit, but I would assume that the foundation of, and you let me know what you think, the foundation of Christian dating would then now lead to a Christian marriage or a kingdom marriage.
Yes, I that's you definitely have to have that before you enter into a kingdom marriage. And then also again, your mindset. Do you want to be married because it looks good? Do you want to be married just because you want to have sex? Like what,
Mhm.
marriage is not an accessory. It's you and your partner, especially a kingdom marriage. Both of you are continuing your father's business, but now you're doing it together. So that's
Mhm.
what it should really be based upon is continuing to bring more souls, continuing to fight the fight that we're supposed to be doing. And I feel like both parties need to make sure that they're on that same page with that. And you also have to look at again the characteristics. Does your partner pray? What are their routines like? Do they pray? Are they up for midnight oil? Do they have their own spare time with God where they sit there and commune? Do they know the word? Are your conversations just about Cardi B, or is it about, does it fluctuate? So
How do you know that?
marriage, huh? I'm
Like,
sorry.
how do you know that before marriage? I can tell you anything. You get what I'm saying? Like, if we
Mm-hmm.
two people that's dating, I can pretend. You see, we keep hearing the example at church about the
Listen.
lady who doesn't even pray over her food, right? So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that she was fake praying over her food at dinner or when she saw you, if you're just now learning this. You get what I'm saying?
Listen, this is where heavy, but this is why your relationship with God got to be stable because God, your father is not going to lead you astray. And so
Hmm.
he will make sure to point these things out, and I feel like a lot of times people just want to be married so bad that they will sometimes ignore the flags that are there. And then when they get married, it's like, oh yeah, but you did do that on our third date. Oh, I did notice you doing that. So now you're starting to see things because the commitment is there now. So, but a lot of people they turn a blind eye just because they want what they want.
Yeah.
So, like honestly, a deep relationship with God must be established because our Father is not going to steer us wrong. It's we the ones that got to be obedient, and wait. If you got to wait, you got to wait.
Yeah.
It's a no until He says yes.
And this is it. So, and I do agree. I feel like people do want to be married for many different reasons. And I think that the number one reason that we now know for marriage is like, yes, you can love the person, but what is your assignment? What is your purpose? And how does the
Exactly.
two of you coming together allow that purpose to take off for the kingdom of God? So that's
Exactly.
definitely something. So we're going to wrap up shortly, but so I have a
Okay.
question. Do you
Yes.
think that God can speak to one man, that two women are for him?
Whoa.
Like two different
I
women.
I know that God is not the author of confusion.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if you hear somebody whispering in your ear saying that these two women are it, you have to run, in my opinion, because genetic problems right there. So I don't, for me, that's a no. It should only be
Hmm.
one person you should be directed for, praying for. You shouldn't even have an option number two. It should just be
Hmm.
that one and done. That's it.
And so what about if there's one and the one did not oblige? And we can use this in the same school, in the same church, in the same workplace, or what in the same community. Let's say there was one that was supposed to be for you and she's not paying you any mind. Do you think that now the Lord will change it to somebody else in that same community, or does that still cause confusion?
Well, it depends on did you approach that person already? Did you already establish something? Is this your quiet time prayers where you were thinking about that person? And then, I really feel like it depends on the situation. Because if it's just between you and God, you don't have anything to worry about. But if you've already making moves to figure out if that's the direction you're going into, then maybe that could be a problem because how would you be so quick to say, okay, maybe that's not it. I'm gonna just go to B. So being very intentional about whom you're seeking. So I said you got to take time. You really got to make sure your relationship with God is 100.
And this is it. This is facts. And I think that what I will say, my prayer is for myself, because I feel like it's really good to speak to God more. But I think that for men, sometimes I come across men that, like I said, you feel like you have so much God in you, but then when it comes to dating, you're so confused, you're so lost, you're so, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what you're doing. Like, and so I
Right.
feel like that's really like I think something to kind of assist with, but like I said, I think the enemy will always present you decoys that you like,
Absolutely.
yeah, that you like physically,
Absolutely.
that they have things internally that you really, really like, enjoy. And so therefore now that's where the confusion comes in because you're not picking what you want to pick. You're picking what you're used to as a no, sorry, you're picking what you're
Mm,
used to as opposed to what you should pick. So yeah.
mm.
But
Yeah,
so do you
if at the end of the day, if you're supposed to have peace with your decision too. So if you're
mm,
feeling confused, if you're feeling uneasy, if you're feeling like somebody holding you back, then you might have to step back for a little bit because you should have 100% peace. Like when
mm,
you trying to do anything in life and you go for it, you should have that peace because that's what God gives us. He gives us that peace. So the moment that you're feeling some type of way, you might have to take a step back and kind of reflect on why you're feeling like that.
mm-hmm. But I wonder, I mean, I think that you could, I think, can't you pick somebody that is not the one for you, but a good option and still have peace?
Hmm. Well, I believe I read something that says you you can pray on you can pray on it because we don't have I don't believe we all have that one person.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that somebody can mess up and then we can, ultimately someone else can come down the
Yeah.
line, but it's just a matter of it's really a matter of prayer, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't even think of any other there's really no way around that. It's just really a matter
Yeah,
of
I mean,
prayer.
to make it right, I think it's prayer and also it's also guidance. People maybe who are
Right,
married, people who you look up to, people who are
right.
knowledgeable about the topic that can kind of help you unpack some things. But no, I definitely agree with that. I
But you got to
definitely,
be careful with that too, because a lot of people, they'll be answering from their standpoint, and everybody's position is not always your position. So you
or more
also
like a
have to be,
covering, like your
hmm?
parents. Like I feel like like somebody that's wiser in marriage. Like let's say if your parents
Yes,
are still together, they don't want to steer you wrong. Like people who are not going to give you a biased opinion, kind of thing, or your
right,
pastors, or
right,
maybe somebody with a good marriage that you look up to. And of course, someone's advice is not the end all be all.
right,
They just kind of
absolutely.
give you the ability to kind of look at things differently. In
Right,
that case. So yeah.
right. I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are getting ready to wrap up. Any last words or advice for anyone that may be trying to figure out this kingdom dating thing or that they've done it incorrectly and they're trying to, get back on track or anything at all?
Um, just most importantly, make sure you're ready. Don't
Mm,
force it, don't rush it, don't allow time to be whispering in your ear just because you feel like it's been 10 years. Really work on yourself. It's not a competition. So take
mhm.
your time, build yourself up, do what you got to do. Be a prayer warrior because when you become a wife, you got to pray, you got to cover your family. So definitely make sure you're taking the necessary steps as a future wife, because at the end of the day, you're going to be married. That's your goal. So make sure that you are prepared for that position, and pray.
Well, this is facts. This is it. Well, for I guess my advice that I would give is like, yeah, just be sure you know what you're doing. Make decisions with a clear mind. Don't if you're a female, I believe the male should approach you, but definitely be
Absolutely.
praying about it and seeing like what his intentions truly are. Ask the Lord to show you his heart for you in real, in real
Yes.
time. Also, if you're a male, if the woman is chasing after you, that's probably not your wife. That's just plain and
Mm,
simple. Like the way I look at it, I feel like it's he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So automatically for her to be looking for you, that automatically negates scripture. And that's, I don't believe that that can be your wife because it doesn't make any sense. Um,
right.
so, to each his own, but thank you so much for being my guest today. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for having me.
Yes. And to my listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in yet again for another episode. Feel free to contact me with my information in the bio. Oh, Tia, where can they find you on Instagram if they're looking for you?
They could find me at Classy T. I'm sure I will be posted somewhere close to this message,
Yeah.
so they can always click the hashtag to look me up.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, have a good one.
Night, y'all.